They communicate a feeling of loftiness or spirituality here in this cathedral. Uh, Also potential movement. That's what vertical lines tell us. Here's another vertical. You see this is a wonderful painting by Jan van Eyck, The Arnolfini Wedding. This has got some great information too. Check your book out about this one. It's got a lot of really neat stuff. Vertical lines, so the vertical line of the drapes, the vertical line of the chandelier, the vertical line of their clothing. Great idea. This, like I said, this has got some great stories, so look this one up. It's well worth it. Diagonal lines, see how they give us a suggestion of meaning. Diagonal, of course, crisscross lines suggests movement, is what I meant to say, I'm sorry. Suggests movement. You can just see them, and this is certainly for these people to be up in the air like this in this dance. You have a feeling of great motion going on. But the fact that they're all in these wonderful diagonal poses helps us with that too, even though it's a still photograph. Here's a great Baccioni sculpture, and you can see how this diagonal line, the diagonal line of the legs of the body, uh, the feeling of wind through the garments. And I tried to give you an example of what I'm talking about here. The diagonal gives you a feeling of him actually moving, even though it's a very sedentary kind of bronze sculpture. Imagine had he not used diagonal lines, had he made that figure standing up and down and all this, you wouldn't nearly have that dynamic feeling, would you? So diagonal lines suggest meaning. Now here's some shape terms, and I won't go through all of these. These are the kinds of shapes. I'll let you go through this on your own. This talks about the definition of a natural shape. I'm going to go through these quickly without reading them to you, just to move you on to principles, because I don't want to color wheel. Be sure you go over this. Secondary colors, primary colors. Definition, incidentally, of primary colors are colors here you can't mix, okay? You have to buy red, you have to buy yellow, you have to buy blue to have red, yellow, and blue. But once you've got those three colors, then voila, you can mix these secondary colors. By mixing these two primaries, you get green. These two primaries, you get orange. These two primaries, you get purple. So you see, secondary colors are Mardi Gras colors, aren't they? And then you have what we call tertiary colors, which are the ones between the primaries and the secondaries. And when you talk about a color being opposite on the color wheel, like yellow is opposite of violet, we say they are complementary colors. Again, I'll ask you to read in your book about this because it gives you a lot more information than I can right here. Value scale. A value is another element of design. That means lightness or darkness. Colors can have shades or tints. They can be very light or very dark. And here we have what we call some saturated colors. Those are very intense. And some grayed colors. Now, grays happen when you take complementary, whoop, didn't mean to do that. When you take complementary colors and you mix them. If you mix, for example, yellow and violet, since they're complements, they give you kind of a grayed yellow, a dull yellow, or a dull violet. So let's go back and look at that great Degas painting. You see how you have some of these neutral colors that he uses in here to give us the feeling of shadow. And that's a good thing. If you take saturated colors, these bright yellows, and you put them with some of the neutrals, it makes the yellows look even brighter. So that's a good trick that artists need. This is the other Gauguin that I kind of wanted to get to before I had to cut this off. This is where Gauguin goes back and he says, well, you know, I interpreted how I would be, want to say she's afraid of death. But now he goes back and he does a very Tahitian thing. And he gives us this great diagonal line instead of the horizontal. And we don't see her as placid and resting. We see her as just kind of a jolt of movement here. This nice diagonal line. Here's the death kahuna instead of the Edgar Allan Poe raven out there in the background. And some beautiful colors, these brilliant complementary colors that he puts adjacent to each other. Gauguin, a different Nevermore. This has got a different name, but it's Polynesian, and I wouldn't dare try to pronounce it. Temperatures, colors can have temperature, warm or cool. Like I said, read in your book, I think it's chapter 2 maybe on this, or 3, that talks about these different principles and elements. This is Andrew White's Christina's World. Lots of very neutralized colors. Nothing bright there at all. And then chiaroscuro, value terms, we're talking about lightness and darkness here. And we saw in the beginning when we looked at the Judith and Hall Fairnese, how intense changes between very dark and very light gives you a sense of drama. Here you have a wonderful self-portrait by Rembrandt with these intense lights and darknesses, and they give you drama also, a really interesting approach to doing a self-portrait. Anyway, read through these when you go through all of this. And then when you get to space is also an element that talks about perspective, hopefully. You'll be able to go through this and make some sense out of it at your leisure. And then it goes into principles. And there are only three principles that we try to cover. Unity, and basically you achieve unity by repetition, continuation, and proximity. Focal point, what we focus on, and you achieve that by contrast, placement, and isolation, and balance. And these are the kinds of balance that we talk about. And then I tried to give you an example, unity, or how things go together, so you can see them all at once. These are not unified. Here you see just by making them all the same shape and color. By repetition, they're unified. By proximity, putting even disparate elements together. Continuation, one sort of points to another. Um, and then I show you some examples. The Villelais family, this is a great story too. I really want to tell you this, and then I'll try to get out of this and let you finish it. Bellelay, this is Degas' sister, I believe, I'm pretty sure. So these would be his two nieces, and he visits his sister in Italy for a while, and he does this wonderful portrait of them. The portrait, though, is just fraught with psychological drama. Um, just the sternness of the white and the black, for one thing. But look at the way he poses these figures. The mother and this child very close together, this child kind of between the two, and this great gulf of space between the mother and the father. The father really not even part of this group. His back is turned to the artist, certainly, to us, and he's looking maybe at this one little girl. Well, Degas says, after he goes home, that this was the most terrible family in the world to visit because all there was bickering and quarrel and aloofness, and he's very unhappy with that. He didn't enjoy it much at all. And you get that feeling from this. The one little girl being very close to her mother, not only in the portrait, but actually psychologically, always looking to her mother for direction and advice, terribly estranged from her father. The other little girl, very close to her father, hence the way that they're kind of focused on each other, but at the same time, kind of between, maybe the one who communicates mother and father. Very interesting, wonderful piece. Anyway, go through the rest of these things. It talks to you about focal point. Uh, Here's how, of course, we talked about this one earlier. They go through more of these things, how to figure some of them out, I hope. And I'm asking you on these to kind of figure it out for yourself. What kind of line, what kind of shapes, color, value, space, and so on that. So that basically is where this is taking you. I hope this has helped some, and I hope that you will enjoy a little bit more going through elements and principles. Thanks.